I need a little more. Don't we? Well, I'll be back here. You're in charge if somebody shows up.
I'll talk to them if they do.
You probably have to let them in. You probably have to.
Oh, they won't pop up on that sidebar?
It'll say, I don't know what'll happen, but it might just say 2 participants. If it goes to 2, you're in charge till I get back anyway. One thing we're not, Gary, is quitters.
I've quit some groups before. They weren't moving fast enough for me. That landmark shit, I quit that.
Well, we're hanging in on this deal pretty good anyway.
Yeah.
Some people would have bagged it. How come this thing's recording already? Guess I turned it on, huh?
I guess you did. They heard me curse.
Oh, on. I thought our last class was pretty good. I don't know if we're gonna be able to top it.
Well,
I guess
that's not the.
I guess no one will be too worried.
Where did we leave off? Do you remember?
I believe
don't.
we're on page 46. I had it marked, but I'm
Oh, okay, well, that's sort
in
of
my
where
mind.
I had it marked. So
Who's
we're
gonna read first?
on the commentary. Is that
Yeah.
where we are?
Yeah.
Okay. I can read first. How long do you want me to read?
Your own judge. I guess you could read to the first essential point, man.
Okay. Homage to my benevolent root guru, he who possesses unequaled compassion. Here I shall explain a little of the method of practice associated with the essential points represented by the view, the meditation, and the conduct. First, since my own guru in his essence fully embodies and unifies within himself the totality of three jewels, so by doing homage to him alone, one is actually paying homage to all of the sources of refuge simultaneously. Thus it says in the root text, homage to the guru. Moreover, as for the real meaning, which I shall explain here regarding the following lines, if one practices wholeheartedly, having first become aware that all of one's gurus, both one's own root guru as well as the gurus belonging to all of the lineages of transmission which one has received, are in fact inseparable from one's own mind, then all three, the view, the meditation, and the conduct, are combined and included within the practice.
I might just mention here that this is the translator's commentary, this part right here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. Hence, I must explain here that the view, the meditation, and the conduct correspond precisely to the real meaning of the names of my own personal masters, both my root guru and the gurus of my lineage of transmission. First, the view is one's own awareness that all of the infinity of appearances occurring in both samsara and nirvana, how many there may be, are wholly perfected from the very beginning within the vast expanse of the Tathagata Garbha, which is the Dharmadhatu itself, free of all conceptual elaborations. Thus, since there exists an awareness of this real meaning, it says in the root text, the view is Longchen Rabjampa, where this name literally means the infinite, great, vast expanse. Then, with respect to this view, which in its own nature is free of all conceptual elaborations, on the one hand, the view is systematically established by means of discriminating wisdom, Sanskrit prajna, and insight, Sanskrit vipassana, on the side of wisdom and emptiness. And then, on the other hand, it abides and continues evenly and one-pointedly in contemplation, where it is inseparably united with the skillful means of concentrated peaceful calm, Sanskrit samadhi. And therefore, this represents the side of great loving compassion. Since there exists here this meditation that links together both emptiness and compassion in this way, therefore it says in the text, the meditation is Gyensei Otsur, which literally means the light rays of wisdom and love. Then, while in a state where one possesses equally such a view and such a meditation, one comes to practice wholeheartedly the six perfections for the benefit of others in accordance with the proper method of the bodhisattvas, who represent the fresh sprouts that will grow into future Buddhas. Since this is the conduct and behavior in question, it says in the text, the conduct is Gyalwe Nyugu, which literally means the fresh sprouts of future Buddhas. The individual who practices wholeheartedly, having a view and a meditation and a conduct such as this, is described as one who truly possesses good fortune. Hence it says in the root text, anyone who practices wholeheartedly in this way. And furthermore, having relied upon a secluded hermitage as the site of retreat practice, if one is able to renounce the activities of this world and practice one pointedly, then in this present life, one will become liberated into the original base, which has been primordially pure from the very beginning. Thus it says in the text, will surely attain Buddhahood within a single lifetime without striving after it. Similarly, even though one may not accomplish this, still, if one turns the mind toward a view, a meditation, and a conduct such as this, then even in this present life, one will become aware of all negative conditions being transformed so as to carry one farther along the path. And although remaining preoccupied with the activities of everyday life, one will not produce so many expectations and anxieties, while therefore in future rebirths one will go from one happy existence to another. Hence it says in the text, and even if one does not accomplish the results of practice, one's mind will enjoy happiness. Ah la la.
Ba. Not boo, but ba. Bada. Bada.
Okay?
I don't know, just one time I heard him do that, I don't know.
Buddhahood?
It's not Buddha,
It's not Buddha.
it's Buddha.
Buddha.
It's not Buddha, it's Buddha.
Buddha.
But all of, all Westerners say Buddha, but Trevor and Jay was trying to get us.
Not an
Buddha. Buddha.
Buddha.
Buddha. I mean, I think everybody says Buddha, so,
Well,
you can really distinguish yourself.
in our Western,
Let's say Buddha.
Buddha.
I don't know, we got anything to say about these beautiful words, Gary? So a lot of this is going to be a little bit repetitive. Nothing wrong with that. We've had a little of that. We'll have a
I
little
think it
more.
is an important note to realize that the meaning of the word guru, the meaning of the word guru is ultimately one's own natural mind.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the main thing one wants to learn. Somehow, I don't know how it happens, but somehow, at some point, every sound is your guru talking, and everything that happens is your guru's activities, and every thought is your guru's thoughts. Your guru is your own mind. Your guru's shown you your own mind, but one day see it.
One day you see it.
Shall I continue?
Sure.
The first essential point. Now I shall explain step by step the view, the meditation, and the conduct that possess such benefits as those cited above. I'm having a longer talk again with my new teeth. First, I want to explain extensively the method for practicing the view. Thus it says in the text, as for the view of Longchen Rabjampa, the infinite, great, vast expanse. Furthermore, by way of the actual secret instructions that pertain to these three statements and strike the essential points of the practice, one cuts off at the root the very vitality possessed by delusions. Hence, it says in the text, there are three statements that strike the actual essential points of the practice. First, there is a method for introducing the individual to the view that had not been introduced previously. In general, according to the Lakshanayana, one systematically establishes the view by means of various authoritative scriptural traditions and by reasoning. Again, according to the usual approach of the secret mantra system, having relied upon the knowledge of the example which is indicated, during the third initiation one is introduced to actual knowledge of primal awareness in the fourth initiation. There exist many systems for this. However, here the method of the holy gurus of the Siddha lineage is to introduce directly the nature of mind by way of the dissolving of all mental activities. Furthermore, at those times when the confused and turbulent waves of deluded thoughts overwhelm the individual, gross, discursive thoughts that pursue and follow after their objects will come to obscure the true face of the nature of mind. Thus, even though one has been introduced previously to it, one will not recognize the nature of mind. For that reason, one must first allow those gross, discursive thoughts to settle down and the mind to become clear. So it says in the text, first allow one's own mind to settle in a relaxed state. Nevertheless, one's own mind, when it is allowed simply to settle down without making any attempt to modify it, becomes in itself just that knowledge or primal awareness, which is the clear light. Since one's natural condition cannot be understood by way of a process of conceptual fabrications, in order that one may indicate to oneself this spontaneously born primal awareness that is in no way fabricated or contrived, it says in the text that one shall remain without thoughts, neither diffusing nor concentrating them. When the individual is only a beginner, even though the mind may continue in a natural self-settled state, still, as part of this calm state, it will not be possible to transcend the condition of attachment to experiences arising in meditation, such as pleasurable sensations, clarity, and the absence of thoughts. Thus it says in the text that one should proceed, while in this condition, a state of equanimity and complete relaxation. In order to free oneself from envelopment by attachments to experiences such as these cited above, and in order to reveal the unadorned natural condition of naked intrinsic awareness, which is in no way obstructed by anything that arises, it says in the text that one should suddenly utter "Pat," which strikes, the Tibetans say "Pat,"
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It might be doing us all wrong here, but whatever.
I think
I still say pot. I don't know. I'm probably stupid, but you could say pat. Might be better. That has arisen. This interrupts the flow of thoughts and, since it is critically important to shatter one's meditation, which has been deliberately created by mental activity, it is necessary to utter the sound pat forcefully and abruptly. So it says in the text, forcefully and abruptly. How marvelous. And it is at the moment when one is freed from all conception, such as thinking, this is a thought, or this is mine, that one in fact becomes liberated. Can I read that sentence again?
Mm-hmm.
And it is at the moment when one is freed from all conceptions, such as thinking, this is a thought, or this is mine, that one in fact becomes liberated. Hence it says in the text, there remains nothing but a sharp, startled awareness. In this state of the Dharmakaya, which is freed from all such conceptual thoughts, the directly penetrating naked awareness remains just as it is, a knowledge or a primal awareness that has transcended the mind, that is to say, it has transcended all mental activity. So it says in the text, this startled awareness is directly penetrating. Moreover, it is directly penetrating in this way because it transcends all limitations and dualities, such as creation and cessation, existence and non-existence, and so on. This self-existent state that transcends all objects of thought and all efforts of speech and mind represents the essential point of an indescribable primal awareness or knowledge. Therefore, it says in the text, nothing arises that impedes us, and it impedes it. It is indescribable. The real meaning of this essential point is that this immediate intrinsic awareness that remains as the base is in fact the Dharmakaya itself. And since primordial purity, devoid of all conceptual elaborations, is the real view properly belonging to the path of the yogins, until one has recognized just this, immediate intrinsic awareness, even though one may meditate and practice continually, one will not pass beyond a view and a meditation that has been merely fabricated by one's own intellectual activities. Therefore, one's view and one's meditation will be as distant from the actual path of the natural great perfection as the earth is from the sky. And in them, this view and this meditation, there will exist nothing of the essential point of the cycle of practice of the clear light, which is, in fact, non-meditation. So it is crucially important to first recognize just this point of intrinsic awareness. Therefore, it says in the text, so one should recognize this as the immediate intrinsic awareness, which is the Dharmakaya itself. The real meaning of this is the first of the three statements that strike the essential points. If there were no direct introduction to immediate intrinsic awareness by means of the view, there would exist no cause for continuing in this state of awareness by means of meditation. Therefore, it is very important to be introduced to the view at the very beginning. Furthermore, once the individual is introduced to this primal awareness, this knowledge or gnosis, which is self-existing and present within oneself from the very beginning, it will no longer be something that must be sought after somewhere else outside of oneself. Since this is not a matter of producing something in the mind that had not existed there previously, it says in the text, this direct introduction to one's own nature is the first essential point. What say you, Gary?
Well, I can logically understand why this should be the first essential point. Because if it's not, then one falls into constructing in one way or another a concept which is not natural intrinsic awareness. And once one establishes a concept, no matter if it's a spiritual concept or whatever, it's still fabricated. And being fabricated, there's a knowing that there's something awry, there's something amiss, because everything that is fabricated has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So getting beyond a conceptual or intellectual understanding of these things is so critical. And yet that seems to be a really hard thing for us human beings to actually accomplish. So this skillful means of just spontaneously uttering, "Pa!"
I think that's it, Gary. We just want to fill in the. We don't want to. It's too uncomfortable for us to just hang, with our minds blown. Really, in reality, reality is blowing our minds all the time. But we prefer not to see it that way. We're just too busy,
Yeah, and it's important to have a little, I think it's important for me personally, to have a little bit of compassion for myself. Because being born into this world, being born into a body, being born into a family, being born into a culture, there are so many drivers there just, to try to avoid the uncomfortableness that occurs all the time.
I always say, we always grab the wrong end of the stick, We're getting in line all the fucking time, but we cannot deal with not grabbing a hold of the wrong end of the stick and trying to get our old reality back together.
And as you go down this path, that becomes harder and harder. Because once you see something, it's hard to unsee it.
It's just what's so good about the guru and having this stuff shown to you by the guru, and honest to God, hanging out with the guru, 500 nights, I mean, you can't, I don't know, man.
You can't really go back.
Well, I mean, you're just shown, I don't know. Trump Rimachay, It's really interesting the way that it evolved, you know. I don't know. I don't know what to like. Why I don't understand anything, but supposedly in the Kagyu lineage, what happens at the highest level is you're called by the Dakinis. Essentially, the Dakinis just want you. They want you. They want you, and they're, and you know, evidently it's pretty cool, you know. It's very compelling. And Trump originally went through all these things. He went through illnesses, an accident. It was kind of incredible what he went through. But the last couple of years of his life, he probably didn't say 7 words a day on average. And his average talk might be, I mean, it might be 5 sentences, but it might be 1 or 2. But yeah, it's just the way he moved, man. It's just the way he walked across that stage. It's the way he got in and out of his chair. It's the way he drank his glass of water or sake or whatever it was. And the way he waved that fan around, man. It's just what he, I don't know, man. It was just, everything was a sign showing you something, which was like, this guy's not in a hurry. I mean, anybody else would be embarrassed or something, or anybody else would be self-conscious about it. But there was none of that, man. And he was just ripping his heart out and laying it on the table. You know, and he just wanted to be with his students. We would play these games, you know, just maybe there wasn't a talk, you know, but it would be like elocution. Like the last 30, 40 nights I was with him, basically 80% of them we just did elocution. It was most of us were not great. I mean, most of us seemed like, you know, this guy's pretty bad, you know, or who could be the worst or something, but he took great pride in the whole thing and great pleasure in it. He wouldn't see it that way, you know. He just wanted us to kind of raise our game, you know, in terms of being aware and not be kind of into silly one-upsmanship games or anything like that, man. He was just trying to teach us to be aware. And being aware of speech is extremely powerful. I mean, practice elocution. I got some tapes. Just practice it, man. It changes your life. It changes your whole life, too. Just speak clearly and try to really enunciate and not to be Americans are very lazy about their speech. Don't be lazy when you speak. Speak as if you're trying to become a Buddha, as if you're trying to elevate yourself to his level or a higher level of consciousness. You just, instead of being a kind of a robot, being a more aware being. You're just always in shock, you know. You're just always kind of shocked by him. But he wasn't like, but he described that this atmosphere was around him that was like, I mean, I don't know, you just were not going to wander off in thoughts. It's just like you were there. You didn't know what was going on, but you were there, and it was just possible to elevate yourself in his presence. And this is his, just his, you almost say the perfume surrounding his mind, is just affected your mind. He was showing you the nature of your mind. But it was somehow, there's something about Sangha getting together and doing stuff like that. I mean, Sangha getting together and having whatever it was, a party or something, anything to kind of uplift the environment and do it together, just do something together like that. It was very powerful. Even if the teacher wasn't there. Anything like that. Well, should we read more, Gary? You have anything to say on that point?
No. The second essential point. Now I shall explain extensively the method of practicing the meditation. If one settles oneself into a state of meditation that is like the continuous flowing of a river, and at all times remains without attempting to create or stop anything, or trying to develop thoughts or to calm them down, then this represents the real nature of the Dharmakaya. When thoughts begin to proliferate and develop, one should just continue in this condition of inherent creative energy or potentiality of primal awareness. Therefore, it says in the text, whether thoughts are proliferating or remaining in a calm state, this is perfectly all right. Moreover, from the power of the creative energy or potentiality of thoughts in the mind arise the various passions, such as anger and desire, which represents the truth of origination, as well as reactive feelings, such as happiness and sorrow, which represent the truth of suffering. Yet if one is aware that the inherent nature of all of these discursive thoughts is just the Dharmakaya itself, then they will be transformed into the state of the Dharmakaya. Therefore, it says in the text that one should remain in this awareness continuously, whether there arises desire or anger, happiness or sorrow. Moreover, in general, even though one is directly introduced to immediate intrinsic awareness by means of the view, when one falls again into distraction, into the ordinary profusion of erroneous, delusory thoughts, without being able to sustain oneself in the state by means of meditation, then one will become fettered once more to samsara by this arising of discursive thoughts in one's own stream of consciousness. Thus, the Dharma and one's own mind stream having gone their own separate ways, one will become no different than an ordinary deluded individual. Thus, it is necessary that one never becomes separated from this totally self-settled state of non-meditation. Hence it says in the text, at all times and on all occasions. Similarly, whether thoughts are developing or remaining quiet and still, it should not be the case that one is trying to subjugate each individual thought as it arises by means of a particular antidote. Rather, whenever thoughts and passions arise, the unique and sufficient antidote to liberate each one of them is the mere recognition of that singular view which was introduced previously. Hence it says in the text, one should hold to the recognition of the Dharmakaya which was recognized previously. Furthermore, even though some thoughts and passions may be produced, when one comes to recognize that these thoughts and passions, are not in any way different from the primal awareness of the Dharmakaya, the gnosis or knowledges emanating from it, and that the inherent nature of these discursive thoughts is in actuality the clear light of the Dharmakaya, then that condition is known as the mother clear light, which abides as the base. Recognizing it by means of the view, the clear light of one's own awareness, which has been directly introduced by the Guru previously, is then known as the clear light of the path of practice. Remaining in this self-same state, where the clear light of the base and the clear light of the path become inseparable, is known as the meeting of the clear light of the sun with the clear light of the mother. Hence the text refers to reuniting the clear lights of the mother and of the son. In this fashion, having recollected the clear light that was recognized by means of the view, one settles into the state of contemplation, trying neither to create nor to stop anything, neither accepting nor rejecting anything with respect to the thoughts and passions that arise from the play of the creative energy of the mind. Since this is the principal essential point here, it says in the text, one should allow oneself to settle into a state of indescribable awareness. When beginners continue for a long time in the state of contemplation in that way, their true and natural face will become obscured and concealed by experiences of pleasurable sensation, clarity, and non-discursiveness or absence of thoughts. Therefore, having freed oneself from those veils represented by experiences such as these, one uncovers the naked face of one's original awareness, so that the knowledge will become visible within oneself. And somewhere it was said, the yogin becomes better by destroying his meditation, just as the mountain stream becomes better by falling steeply from above. Hence it says here in the text, whether there arise experiences of the calm state, or of pleasurable sensation, or of clarity, or of thoughts proliferating, shatter them again and again. Furthermore, if one inquires into how one is to destroy them in this way, then at the time when these experiences of calmness or a pleasurable sensation or of clarity are produced, like a bolt of lightning striking them from the sky, one must shatter into fragments these layers of attachment with the ferocious sound of "Fat!" This forceful sound, "Fat!" unites Fa, the letter of skillful means that represents the accumulating merit, and Ta, the letter of discriminating wisdom that cuts through all delusions. Therefore, it says in the text, to shatter them with a sudden, explosive uttering of this syllable, Fat, which unites skillful means and wisdom. Similarly, without being separated from the essential point of these experiences, at all times and in every way, one continues in this indescribable, directly penetrating awareness. And because of this, there is no difference in the condition of meditation between the state of even contemplation and the period of subsequent realization. Therefore, it says in the text, thereupon, there will be no difference between the state of even contemplation and what is realized subsequently.
You want me to take over?
Yeah.
For this reason, there do not exist different meditations for the period of the actual meditation session and for the period of activity that follows afterwards. Thus it says in the text, and there will be no difference between the meditation session and the non-session afterwards. That great meditator who is actually not meditating is the yogin in whom effulgent and self-existent primal awareness or knowledge is like the continuous flowing of a river. Moreover, in that individual there exists not even so much as a hair tip of a cause for meditation, nor is he or she for any moment distracted. As it was said somewhere, neither have I ever meditated, nor have I ever been separated from meditation. Thus I have never departed from the real meaning of non-meditation. Since this is the actual meaning here, it says in the text, one should continuously remain in this state where they are inseparable. Similarly, if one has become a pure container for the real significance of the path of the natural great perfection, that is to say, the type of individual who is capable of being liberated instantly upon merely hearing the teaching, then all thoughts and appearances are totally liberated into the base. And whatever arises is immediately transformed into the state of Dharmakaya. Thus, there exists no meditator and no meditation when the individual is in that condition. However, those less fortunate individuals who pursue the gradual approach and who fall under the power of deluded thoughts must meditate until they are able to realize some stability in the practice. Thus it says in the text that one must practice nevertheless if one is unable to attain stability in this. Moreover, with respect to this meditation, when one has perfected the accumulation of the causes of concentration, Sanskrit dhyana, experiences in meditation certainly will be produced. But on the other hand, no matter how long a time one may meditate in the midst of worldly entertainments and distractions, no experiences in meditation will be produced. As it says in the text, having renounced worldly entertainments, it is important to meditate. Also, with regard to this meditation, even though there exists no actual difference in terms of practice between the state of even contemplation and the period of subsequent realization. Nevertheless, if one has not gotten a hold of the state of contemplation first, one will not be able to integrate the primal awareness of one's experiences in meditation with what is subsequently realized. Thus, even though one may try to make one's daily activities into the path itself, the deviations of falling away from one's innate disposition and of irregular habits will arise. Hence it says in the text, and divide one's practice into discrete sessions. Similarly, having divided one's practice into discrete sessions, one should practice in a way that relies upon fixating the mind upon some object of meditation, so as to continue in the essence of contemplation. However, when one comes to integrate this with the ordinary daily activities during the period subsequent to meditation, if one does not know how to preserve the state of contemplation continuously, one will not be capable of controlling secondary conditions by means of this antidote. Rather, one will be led astray by these secondary causes, including any distracting thoughts that may arise. So one will fall back again into being merely an ordinary confused individual. Therefore, it is very important to maintain and continue in this directly penetrating primal awareness or knowledge during the period that follows the meditation session. Hence, it says in the text, at all times and on every occasion. Moreover, at such a time, it is not necessary for the individual to search about for any other meditation. While in the state of contemplation, a condition that is inseparable from the view of the Dharmakaya, all of one's thoughts and actions continue as usual without any deliberate calculations on one's part or any attempts at creating or stopping anything. Thus it says in the text, one should continue in the state of this single Dharmakaya. Practicing in this way represents the yoga that is both natural and free from conceptual elaborations. It is the yoga where peaceful calm, shamatha, and higher insight, vipassana, are inseparably united. Thus one can continue in the spontaneously born and unfabricated state of dharmata. This is at the heart of every practice found in the tantras belonging to the secret mantra of Vajrayana. It is the actual gnosis or knowledge indicated in the fourth initiation. It is a special teaching which is the wish-granting gem of the Siddha lineage. And because it is the unexcelled state of every individual included within the lineages of the Mahasiddhas who have previously attained realization in India and in Tibet, whether they belong to the old school, Ning Mappa, or to the new school, Sarmappa, we should decide definitively upon this single point with absolute conviction. However, if one thirsts after the water of other secret instructions, it is like having an elephant at home but searching for its tracks elsewhere in the dense forest. Having let someone become trapped in a cage of mind-made fabrications, one will find that one has no time for liberation. So it is absolutely necessary for the individual to decide definitively with intelligence upon this single essential point with respect to the practice. Hence it says in the text, and one should discover that there is nothing other than this. Similarly, having discovered that the Dharmakaya is Buddhahood itself, experienced as naked primal awareness, which is self-existing and never deluded, one continues in just that way. This is the second secret statement relating to the essential points of practice. Since this is extremely important, it says in the text, thus directly discovering this single state is the second essential point. What say ye, Gary?
Well, one sentence caught my eye. Moreover, at such a time, it is not necessary for the individual to search about for any other meditation. If we don't recognize natural intrinsic awareness, and realize that that is it, then it's easy for the thought to arise that I need to find another way, that I need to find another technique, that I need to find another guru, that I need to find another meditation. And when that thought arises, if we give credence to that thought, then again, we head down the diluted path of concepts, of wanting a better concept, of wanting to figure it out with the mind, with the personal mind. And the moment that that thought arises, the very instant that that thought arises, if we don't recognize it as a natural display of Dharmakaya, and instead give it some sort of substance that we identify with as being me, I thought that. I need to do this. I need to find a better system. I need to find a better thought. I need to. Then we've lost presence. In that very instant, we've lost natural, intrinsic awareness, and our personal mind has gone running after something else, thinking that if we could only grasp it, then we would be liberated. Then we wouldn't have to feel uncomfortable anymore.
Sorry, I was saying the same thing, and he says the man who is standing on his doorstep, he has a beautiful wife upstairs, but he's asking passerbys about sensual excitement to be found somewhere. Same as the elephant story, right? Have an elephant in your house, and yet you're out in the jungle looking for footprints of elephants.
The habitual egoic mind wants to believe that it has the answers.
We don't really want to. We don't want to make the commitment that just rest our mind in nature for mind. We don't want to commit that we got something else in mind to do. So we don't want to truly believe. We don't want to really truly commit or believe. If we really believe, we might have to commit. That's the secret, is just, I say it more than one place, you just drive a stake in the ground and you're tied to that stake and you say, I'm not leaving this point until it's like the Buddha touching the ground and saying, I'm not moving here until I can attain enlightenment. He wasn't chasing after nothing else, but he made a commitment and he stuck to it. That's what we got to do. The second point is you really seen it, you know. You've seen the Dharmakaya, but you got to commit. This is it. There's nothing else. There's no other thing to be found out in the jungle or anywhere else. You just got to rest your mind, nature your mind. There's nothing else to do. Seems to. They had, you know, they used to. The first, I guess, famous incarnation of the Trungpa Rinpoche his Tulku progenitors was the three idiots, they were called. They were the three foremost students of Gampopa, although nobody thought of him that way. They just thought him as these wild men. They were always doing this wild shit off somewhere. You know, dancing with the dakinis all night long, you know, when they should have been in meditation hall all day the next day, you know. But whatever the guru said, they just did it like that. That's the reason they call them the three idiots. They were thought of as idiots because if the teacher said, you know, do this, they just did it. It's that kind of commitment. And then there's a real famous story where the senior monk, you know, he just had enough of their asses, you know. And they were up all night, you know, dancing with the dakinis. And they weren't in the meditation hall, you know. And he told them to get the hell out of here. So they were packing up and leaving. And Gampo was sitting up in his cave, you know, and he's going, what's going on? Something's really bad's happening. All the Dharma Palas and all the dakinis are leaving. What's going on here? And all the Dharma Palas and all the dakinis were leaving, following the three idiots who were leaving. And Gampopa starts singing to them. And the refrain would be, Show Mo, come back up, don't leave the mountain. You know, there's work to do here, we need you guys. Don't let them, these tight-ass monks get your coat. We need you all together to pull for this thing to happen. And finally they did, they came back up. Show Mo, come back up. He sings this old song to them. They're singing back. Well, Gary, we did an hour. I don't know how many pages we got done, but we got
a lot. We read
8
a lot.
pages.
We read a lot.
This next one's going
because it's dense. It's very dense.
The next one's the third point. That's going to be not easy. I think we better stop here.
Yeah, we should.
Rest on our laurels.
Dedicate the merit.
Good idea. By this merit may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy's wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara may I free all beings.